Here is an example of a drawing that was originally produced in AutoCAD's DWG format and is now in the gCADPlus environment. And our task is to deal with a drawing such as this. One of the first things to check is to zoom in on the drawing and look at some object of known size. Now the author here has put a block, in fact, indicating 20 feet, and what I've done is explode that block and drawn a line directly over the top of the block, snapping to the 0 and 20 point. And if we come over here and look at the length of that, it reads 240. Now, let's zoom out. So we'll right click and pick Zoom Extents. And clearly this drawing is not full size. I suspect that the drawing sheet here and the title block are in fact full size. Those things need to be copied into layout space and placed as, if you like, one-to-one in layout space, and then the drawing, the actual lines and entities that represent the site need to be scaled up by the appropriate factor, and that'll be 0.083 recurring, so we'll scale it up. So what I'll do now is try and shift the title block and the green border into layout space and do that scaling. It's really important that in any CAD design, the model of the real site, whenever you make an inquiry of it, you get a number that means something to you in the real world. If we use the distance inquiry and just pick what's the distance across this path here, it's 98 units. And clearly that's not 98 feet across there. This is an imperial drawing, and we're working with feet as the base unit. Well, let's now scale this drawing. The easiest way to do that, and perhaps before we do it, let's go to our layers, right click, and make sure everything is turned on. And now we can use tools and selection, select all. Everything is now selected, right click, choose scale as a base point 0, 0, and the scale factor we want to convert this drawing, where a line 20 was reading to 40, we want 0.08333 and hit enter. Now if we zoom extents and zoom in on our line, we hope that it will read 20 units. It's 19.999, so we're happy enough with that. I did notice some interesting effects here where clearly the way in which the 0, 5, 10 and the word scale is indicated have not translated properly. So it's a pretty simple matter to just change that text. If we click in here, yes, you can see what's happened. The text there has been broken up into its constituent units. So in order to clean this drawing up and make it totally compatible, we really do need to put some text in. We can read the text well enough, but we need to put some new text in. But I digress. Let's zoom extents. So now we have a drawing where when we zoom in and use the distance command, say from one side to the other, we get 7.75. So that pathway going up is 7 feet 9 inches, which is an appropriate width for a path of that type. So we now have a drawing where the design can be interrogated and we get answers back to us that mean something. There are a few other DWG conversion problems that we need to fix up, but we're heading in the right direction. You might also notice as we zoom in on the title block drawing here, if we zoom right in on some of the text that's in there, you notice how fuzzy it is. So let's have a look at that title block. So we can say edit block, and as we zoom in here, you can see if I click on the entity, you can see that the text has been broken up. I suspect that an unusual font was used in the original creation of this block, but we can improve things and reduce the file size dramatically by, in this case, we'll copy that and move it down there, and then we'll change the contents of the text from revision to the required drawing number and leave the colon. And once we've done that, we can then remove those, erase them, and then move the drawing number into position. Well, now when we close the block editor and return to the drawing, our new text appears in the correct space, and that's fine. So we've tidied up that block. The next step is to organize the display of this drawing in layout space, and you'll notice that we want a drawing 1 foot to 1/8 of an inch, and we want that on some size sheet. The title block gives us no indication of the size sheet, so we'll do a little experimentation by setting up a new layout. That's Format, Layout, and we'll create a new one, and we'll try setting up with, let's say, an architectural C size sheet in album format, and we'll go OK. Now when we move to that layout, the design appears in the layout. Later on we're going to move the sheet border, but you'll notice a black line around here, and that gives us a floating viewport, and over here is the view scale, and I'll show you in a short time how to set the view scale to 1 foot to 1/8 of an inch. Let's return to model space first. So we'll unselect all and click on the model tab, right click and zoom extents. Well, it's my mistake, my unfamiliarity. It's 1 inch to 8 foot, or a 1 to 8. What would be useful to do now is to select that Layout tab 1 and just go to the Layouts Manager, and we can see it's C-size sheet. But we'll rename this and we'll call it Landscape Plan, and it's C sheet, and we'll OK. Because later, to fully describe this design, we'll have lots of layout sheets across here focusing on different parts of the design, and you want those tabs to be as meaningful as possible. To set the scale factor of that floating viewport window which contains the design, we need to right click and zoom extents in layout space, and under tools we've got a tool somewhere to help us set the scale factor. Maybe it's under modify. Set fixed scale. Here we are. Set fixed scale. Select the viewport, which I've now done, and then hit enter. What scale do we want? This is an imperial drawing, and we want 1/12. Sorry, we don't. 1 foot to 8, so it's 1/8, and hit enter. We've now set the appropriate scale. We'll set it as a fixed scale, and there's our view scale factor, but we now have the appropriate scale showing for that drawing on that sheet. I still would like to bring the title block information into the layout tab itself rather than have it here in the model, but that's a purist's view. I like to make inquiries of anything in the drawing and get numbers that mean something to me. Measuring a title block or indeed a line such as this one. So if I said measure the line from there across to there, I get 363, and I want that to be in feet, the dimensions of a C-size sheet. But for the moment, this works reasonably well. If you don't like the black border, and it will show when you plot, you can just select the border and pick color and make the color white, color 255, and unselect all, And there's our drawing displayed at a scale of 1 to 8 on an architectural on an ANSI C size sheet, and it's now ready for plotting. So you should be able to see that there are some difficulties in converting from DWG to a form that works in gCADPlus. We still have to fix up these funny text issues that we see here, and that's a matter of replacing the text properly. Even the mixture of scales there has changed. So I need to do the same thing to that block as I did to the title block. But that can be left for another day. Let's right click and zoom extents, and there the design has been successfully moved from DWG to the gCADPlus LCD format.